My name is Doug Campbell, and I'm the independent candidate that's running for the 9th House District. That's everything between Smyrna and the Canal, east of 13, and north from Moral Creek Road and Lower Grove Road area. Folks, I'm here to tell you that the dollar, this ratty little piece of cotton that we have put so much of our faith, time, energy, sweat, and blood into, is a total fraud. It's a total sham. The Federal Reserve prints these things out of thin air. They loan them to the government. The government is charged interest in order to have a currency. The fractional reserve banking system multiplies this currency and adds interest along with every single loan. This is how the currency is created. If you take anything away from tonight, please go home and watch this YouTube video. It's called The Secret of Money 4. The rest of the world is figuring this scam out. The BRICS, this is Brazil, Russia, India, and China, are lining up to dump the dollar. They're going to dump the treasury bonds, and this is going to happen in a very short period of time. You are not going to get any warning about it. You are not going to be told any of this is going to happen. They're going to continue to twist little knobs and make little adjustments and tell you that everything is all right, that we have some kind of fake recovery, and it's all a big sham. Because when this thing goes down, the banks, anybody know what derivatives are? Anybody know what an interest rate swap is? Does anybody know what a collateralized debt obligation is? If you don't hire someone that understands what currency is and how it works and how this whole thing is built, you are going to remain debt slaves to a group of private banks who issue the currency out of thin air. I have a solution. Everybody wants transparency. It's called the blockchain. This is the technology that is behind Bitcoin. We as a state, the first thing you have to do is establish a bulkhead with a state bank.
All right, thank you. Good evening, folks. My name is Kevin Hensley, and I am seeking the 9th Representative District position in the House of Representatives. My main reason for running, frankly, is a concern over three major issues: jobs, economy, and education. I've been very involved in my community for a number of years. I've served on 2 different school boards, very involved in the local chamber of commerce, and a small business owner. As a small business owner, I've seen firsthand the challenges that folks have had in meeting payroll over the last number of years. We as a state are challenged with, from a job situation, loss of manufacturing jobs, and from an education standpoint, we're struggling in from the situation whereby, you know, we've got a strong school district where we are. However, from a state perspective, we're lagging in SAT scores. We're the 13th per capita highest state in the nation in per capita student spending. I'm very concerned that we're not seeing the direct results from the standpoint of what's happening in the classroom. So again, I have a passion for serving the community. I have a passion for helping people, and I'm truly looking forward to the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
First question, you might as well hold that. Can you give us an example of where you think that the state of Delaware is not making good use of taxpayer revenue, and an example of where you think the state is making good use of revenue?
Sure. 3 quick examples of where I feel taxpayer revenue has fallen short from the state standpoint. One would be the investment that the state attempted to make with Fisker. The second example would be Bloom Energy, where we have probably on any given day a dozen cars in the parking lot. And the last example where I feel we've fallen woefully short was the building, not once but twice from what I understand, of the Indian River Inlet Bridge. From a good choice of, or good use I should say, of taxpayer dollars, I would have to say the interchange at Churchman's that I just came through, I would respectfully suggest was a good use of taxpayer dollars.
There's one responsibility that the state is supposed to take care of, and that's the infrastructure that is supposed to support the underlying economy. You have to have food production. You have to have some kind of manufacturing. And the state, all its job is supposed to do is make sure that there's the electricity lines and the road lines to make sure that everything is interconnected and everybody can get to everywhere without popping tires in the potholes. All right? All of this special money going into special places, it's all a huge waste of money, and it's all to pay back. You look at who is giving money to these campaigns, and then you'll see that it's the same firms that get money, for all these special deals, these redevelopment projects in Wilmington, all this stuff. If we put this system on a blockchain, the transparency will be there. Anybody can look up exactly where every single dime the state spends. They're going to see exactly where it goes. And you can even institute a system where the public can actually vote on special projects. So you don't even have legislators involved in picking winners and losers. If we want to build a museum, you could put up a wallet address and send your money to build that project if that's what you want to go for. The entire tax system needs to be scrapped. When you have a debt-based currency, every time that the state taxes you, you've got a group of state employees that have to be paid, and they all have loans to be paid back. And then you've got the private sector, and they've got their loans to be paid back. Well, the force of government is going to make sure that the state employees get their loans paid off. Because remember, if all currency is issued as a debt, there's never enough currency in the system in order to pay all of the loans plus the interest. So the idea in America where you can work hard and get ahead, that's a total lie. In America, you've got to work harder and beat out your neighbor in order to make the interest payment.
In the event that the governor's gasoline tax proposal were to get through the legislature, what would you do to assure that the transportation-related revenues were usable only for transportation-related projects? You have it.
Okay, fair enough. Well, for starters, I would say that it's truly my hope that the gas tax does not get approved. I don't believe that that is something that those of us as Delawareans can handle from a budgeting household standpoint. I just think that it's way too much, and I firmly do not believe, unlike the governor, that we can tax and toll our way out of this mess. I just don't think that that's good, sound fiscal budgeting for the families in Delaware. As I go door to door, the common sentiment I get that frankly folks feel that well, a lot of folks are unemployed and a lot of folks are underemployed. So again, I just must suggest that I think that the gas tax is a bad idea. Should the gas tax pass, then it surely, unlike the Transportation Trust Fund, would need to be measures put in place to assure that those funds do remain in a dedicated spot for which they were intended. Thank you.
Well, if we have proper oversight and things are done properly, then we don't have the problems that we have. But let's look at the biggest waste of money that I see, and that is the amount of money that the government spends to pay private banks for things like the EBT card program or bond offerings or all the other services that the banks give to the state. This all can be replaced if we have a state bank. The state of North Dakota has a state bank. Their employees all have accounts there with direct deposit, and then the bank can use that as a basis to give out loans to small businesses or whatever North Dakota is, whatever their needs might be. So we've got to have a system that is that's not backed with fraud. That's not with a currency that's just created out of thin air. And if anybody's noticed, Janet Yellen has got the printing presses all in overdrive. What you guys have to understand is look at everything that we import. Look at the places that they come from. India, China. These people are buying gold and silver hand over fist, and it's because they know something that the majority of Americans don't know. And that is the world is getting ready to dump this fiat paper Ponzi scheme and they are going to go back to a gold-backed currency. That's what all these wars are all about. That's why we're in Ukraine, and that's why we're in Syria, is because we're trying to stop oil pipelines and everything else to try to keep Russia and trying to keep Iran, it's to keep Russian natural gas and oil out of Europe, and same thing with Iran, because those guys do not accept dollars for their natural resources. And if you notice that any time we have an enemy, they all have that common denominator. Saddam Hussein, back in whatever it was, started selling oil for euros. And that's why I think we invaded.
For closing statement. Have it last.
All go. Folks, I'm offering you a choice. 4 years ago, I ran for Attorney General against Beau Biden. I got 21% of the vote. And it's because in 2008, I saw this financial crisis. I've been studying politics since I was 12 years old. When Ross Perot started showing charts. And he showed charts that mathematically didn't make any damn sense. And why would our leaders be, shoving this NAFTA, GATT, all this free trade? It's because there's something called an interest rate apartheid wall. There's the banks and the government and the big business that can all borrow at 0% because they have the levers to the printing press. And then there's the rest of us, the small businesses and the regular folks who have to borrow at 6, 8, 10, 12%. And when you have two groups of people, you can't compete against someone who can borrow at 0% when you're borrowing at 10. You can't compete with that. And that's why those people are able to pay their loans, and it's harder for the regular guy to pay off the loans. Because there's simply, please, YouTube, The Secret of Money 4. All right, I'm done.
Well, I would like to take a moment, first off, and thank the Civic League for the opportunity to be here this evening, and would like to thank those of you in attendance as well. This is a critically important election, I believe. Again, we're at a time here in the state where we've got a languishing economy, we've got languishing job growth, and I feel that it's important to bring someone to Dover with a fresh new set of ideas. Someone who's, again, myself has been a business owner for 20 years, understands the challenges in making a payroll, oftentimes paying your employees or not paying yourself when times are tough, and making some real choices and some real sacrifices. Well, we're looking at a situation here in the state where the median income has dropped by 20% over the last 6 years. I see a problem. And the folks in our area are struggling. They feel that they need some active, engaged representation in Dover, and I am anxious for the opportunity to earn their vote and the ability to serve. Thank you so much.
Turned it off on me. All right, while we get ready to set up the Senate panel after this, we're going to give our two Green Party candidates for U.S. Senate and U.S. Congress to come up and give a quick 3-minute intro. So if gentlemen would like to come up, and you can fight over who goes first, but I think you let the